There was a story about the Detroit Tigers and their future with quotes from Alavila in the Detroit News a couple days ago. And you and I kind of debated it, although I misinterpreted a little bit of what was read in the story, and I backed off the statement, although we can revisit it again today, and we will because we got a little bit more solid stuff. But it was about whether or not, the Tigers are going to be buyers or sellers. What could be? It was Avila's approach to the trade deadline. And Sunday, he was speaking, was asked about Nick Castellanos and whether or not he's a foundation piece of a rebuild or a trade chip. And his response was, quote, "Right now, I would say it's a little too early to say. I'm going into this trade deadline and into the winter. I don't have a mandate to trade anyone. We're not picking up the phone, and we're not going to pick up the phone and say we're trading so-and-so." Should Castellanos be a centerpiece for the rebuild, or should he be dealt now that there's a market for him?
I think he should be a centerpiece because I'm tired of kicking the can down the road. And I think he's proven that offensively he's a gifted player. Defensively, he's a work in progress. He's a below-average outfielder by every measurement you can do from the analytics world. And, is he a bit of a defensive liability? Yeah, he can be. But his offense picks it up. His offense more than makes up for his lack of defense. And I think he's expressing some leadership skills as well with this team. I think he should absolutely be a foundation piece. If you were to trade him, yes, you can get something in return, something pretty good in return. But, again, you're just getting prospects in return, and prospects it's a gamble. You don't really know. What you know with Nick Castellanos, you know more about Nick Castellanos than you do about Michael Fulmer, don't you?
Yes.
I think he's a guy that I would hang on to.
One thing he said there that interests me, what do you mean you're tired of kicking the can down the road?
With the talk of, I think they did their purge when it came to trading guys to, okay, we're going to be really rebuilding for the future. I don't want to keep, because I do envision Castellanos as part of this future. If he's not, I think you're delaying when that's going to happen. And the more you keep dealing for prospects within the organization, the less of a chance you have to really hit on them. Again, it's another gamble if you were to trade him. It'd be another gamble if you trade Michael Fulmer because you know what you have. Now, there's an injury risk, certainly with Fulmer, but you sort of know what you have with him and how good he can be. I don't know what with the prospects, how good they would be. We talked yesterday. Look, the prospects can always be hit or miss. We talked yesterday about the proposed deal, between Seattle and the Tigers from a couple of years ago.
Yep.
After the 2016 season, that the Mariners had offered up Taijuan Walker for J.D. Martinez and Matthew Boyd. Thankfully, the Tigers didn't bite at that because you never know if top prospects are going to pan out. He was a top prospect for the Mariners back in 2013, 2012. He was number 4 prospect in all of baseball, and he hasn't really panned out. The rankings are just rankings. You don't really know how good these guys are going to be. Moncada for the White Sox, right? He's been one of the top prospects in baseball for the last couple of years. He's struggling mightily. Now, is he going to figure things out? Sure, he's got plenty of time where you take the chance and you give him that chance, but it's not a guarantee. So that's why I say that I'm tired of kicking the can down the road because I thought the Tigers already made this purge. They made the purge a few years ago when they traded David Price and Joakim Soria, and they got the players that they got for them, which was good. They traded last year with Martinez and Verlander and Upton and Kinsler in the offseason. They've done their purges. I'm ready to move forward and seeing what's going to happen. Look, I'm excited about, later today, Erie's going to have a doubleheader. It'll feature Bo Burrows and Alex Faedo. Well, that's the future of the team that's going to make the big difference. At least I'm hoping that's the not having to add more guys to the mix of some other teams, second or third best prospect.
I'm a little surprised you say that because I feel like they've just started the rebuild. To me, this is the first year where they have no chance of winning, right? I mean, this is the first year where the expectation is this team's not going to compete. Maybe I shouldn't say no chance. If Cleveland's going to decide they're going to be average all year long, maybe Detroit has a chance to win the division. But this is the first time. This is the first season in over a decade I feel like we've just started the rebuild. I'm surprised you're already tired of kicking the can down the road.
Well, because you know where I stand in thinking that this team can be competitive again in just the next couple of years.
Well,
because they're going to have all this money coming off the books and the salary from a payroll standpoint. They'll be able to spend some money in a couple of years. And in a couple of years, I would expect that guys like Burrows and Faedo will be in the rotation. And that you'll know at this in 2 years, you know, if Doel Lugo is he going to be our everyday second baseman? You'll feel pretty good about Candelario at that point. Of a few years under his belt, is he the right guy at third base? Probably is. I think that they're ready to move on with this group that they have. In addition to part of the rebuild is just simply what you're drafting. So it has continued on with first-round picks that they've had over the last 3 years, and watching these guys grow. Obviously, Faedo is a little more advanced than that, but Matt Manning and working at single-A ball right now and working his way up. What's Casey Mize going to be? That's another piece to the puzzle. You and I both crossing our fingers that when the College World Series is over with, they're going to be able to sign Clemens because he looks like he could be something. You know, just it's what they developed right now that they have as well. And they seem like they've got a lot of guys that you're looking at that seem to have more potential than they've had in the last 10, 15 years.
I guess the decision comes down to if you're Avila and you've got a commodity in Castellanos who is a bit polarizing. Like when we bring him up on the air, there's some people that really like him and some people that can't stand him. And some people that think he's going to be a player and some people that can't get past the defense and says, yeah, he can hit, but he's just a butcher in the field. The thing about this is it's not about whether or not you or I are tired of it. It's whether or not they have deemed that they have gotten rid of enough to fatten up their future enough. Like you when you're in a rebuild, you're amassing commodities. You are pulling in as many young prospects as you can. You're trying to maximize your potential future. At some point, you shift and say, we're not trading anymore. We're not getting rid of anybody else. Probably the only two players that sounds like it, I would imagine, are safe are Candelario and Jimenez on the current club. And I don't know that they would trade.
I don't know about that. I would think Jimenez. I don't know about Candelario.
You think they'd trade Candelario?
I think they could.
I'd be shocked considering he was part of a group that they got back.
Look, if they're not willing to say at this point that Nick Castellanos is a foundation piece, I would think that Candelario is somebody they could part with as well.
Candelario's under club control for a lot longer. So I think that's why they'd be more likely to keep him. And
I don't think it's likely he gets moved. I'm saying I don't think anybody's really untouchable.
They have to decide, have they done enough? Have they done enough? Have we moved enough that we have gotten the pieces back that can be, you know, what are the percent hit rate? Like you mentioned, Faedo and Burrows being in the rotation. There's a difference between being in the rotation and being in the rotation and being good.
Sure.
And
sure.
So
Perez is in that mix as well, who hopefully should be pitching against competition by the end of this month.
I remember 12, 13 years ago, personally going all in on the idea that Eric Munson and Kyle Sleeth and
Mike
Rivera and Andres Torres. There was another couple.
And Nate Cornejo.
Yeah, these guys were going to be the foundation for the future. And did any of them pan out?
No.
Yeah. So you have to look at the odds of these prospects panning out and make the decision. Have we done enough? Have we done enough, or do we need to just keep accruing assets and hope that – because they have to decide, and they know their own evaluations. How are we really feeling about Faedo? Yeah, they moved him up to Erie, but he's lost some velocity. How are talks going with Casey Mize? How are talks going with Cody Clemens? I mean, I hope well.
Right. Well, the other thing is, and this is when I say I don't want to keep kicking the can down the road, I think if they traded somebody like Castellanos, who could be a part of their future, a big part of their future, I think that's what that does. That's not going to preclude me or exclude me from making trades. I will look long and hard to get the best deal possible and hoping that guys continue to play well, like Martin continues to play well, that Iglesias continues to play well, Fires continues to pitch well, Green continues to pitch well, and I would package those guys together to get the best player in return that I could get. Rather than, parsing them off one by one and getting a bunch of average to below average prospects, I'd put them together to get a pretty good prospect. Because I don't think you're going to get a whole lot for Mike Fiers. But I think you might get something pretty decent if you go Fiers, Martin, and something else.
248-539-9797. Is Castellanos the cornerstone of the future of the Tigers, or a commodity that should be dealt right now where they can get a pretty good return on him? 248-539-9797. 97.1 The Ticket.